Vanakkam. Hello, everybody. This is PM Chandrasekar on behalf of ICF Chennai Charter Chapter, welcoming you all to the ultimate season closing edition of ATC, that is All Things Coaching. This is a super special edition. Why so? I'll come to that a little later. For now, please fasten your seatbelts. Get ready for 2 hours of serious discussion, high learning, interaction, looking back at the path we have traversed, nostalgia, and emotions, including gratitude. As we begin taxiing, let's get to know where you're joining from. Yes, just one parameter. Please put it in the chat box, the name of your city or the country as apt for you. Bangalore, Ireland, Montreal, Bangalore, Pune, Canada. Lovely. All over India, all over the region, all over the world. Fantastic. Keep it coming, folks. We have a lot to do, so I'm moving on. Before we start with today's agenda, let's see why this is a super special edition. We called it in our communication the ultimate session, the ultimate season closing edition. Since we started in February 2022, we have traveled far. We have been in the air for 22 months. We have traveled wide with a variety of special focus topics. We have traveled high with luminary special guests to share their wisdom, experiences, and perspectives. And with your unconditional support and appreciation, we were able to soar high session after session. All along, we have looked at the perspectives of different stakeholders in the coaching ecosystem: the ultimate client, the sponsor organization, sponsor as an individual, and of course, the coaches themselves. So we have traveled wide. In this sense, we have come to a full circle. Let's have a quick look at what ground we have covered in our 22-month journey. Can we have the slides, please? These are some of the all the sessions that we have done, and the focus topics are visible over there, starting with becoming a coach, life challenges in coaching, seeking solutions thereof, seeking and finding your coach, a client's problem, executive coaching, organizational perspective and coach perspective, celebrating coaching, confluence of organizational leadership and coaching, client's problem, client's practical issues. Great. And we ended with, we added a touch of health and wellness coaching, which was a great success and very well participated in. And we closed with the nuts and bolts of coaching in the last session, that is in September. Now you get an idea of what we have achieved in the past 22 months of ATC. As is customary with ATC, let's recall the last, that September edition of ATC. It was on the nuts and bolts of coaching. There was co-creation, candid sharing, a lot of interaction, questions and answers galore. Let's see then how the 90-minute session has been compressed into a short video clip. Can we have the video, please?
About to leave, already packing, come with me. I'm not really asking, we'll get away to a place where we don't know. About to see the world in action, what we can be, life with no distractions, we'll get away, this is what we waited for. Take my hand, we'll make it somehow, we can't miss out. I'm done living life with the lights out, die with my own doubts. Be free with me. Let's go, let's be free with me.
Thank you. I'm sure you all enjoyed it. We said November 24 and here we are today. Incidentally, whatever we have co-created during that session has been shared with all the participants of that session. It's one of the value additions we do, values that we share with our participants. I'm sure it's been received well and would be used as a resource, would be of use as a resource. Having thus come a full circle, we feel that its time now is ripe and ready to take a pause and a wrap up. Hence, we named it the season closing edition. You could say that all the past topics have been on the operational plane in varying degrees. And the wrap-up edition has to move away from the operation and look at an apex level topic so that the pyramid is complete, thus the name ultimate. What could be such an apex level focus topic? It has to be high level, an abstract topic. So we would like to address why coaching? What is the purpose of coaching? How far have you traveled with coaching? What is the potential that remains ahead of us? These are fundamental questions of foundational nature to build coaching as a modality to develop people professionally and personally. And therefore, here we are for the ultimate season closing edition with the topic, the purpose and potential of coaching. That would be a grand finale topic for times to come for all of us to listen to, think, and reflect upon, and get on with our journey in coaching. To carry on with the discussion forward on the purpose and potential of coaching, we have two special guests with us today. We have today with us two coach leaders. They both are highly experienced coaches. They're globally respected and, more importantly, passionate about and deeply committed to the coaching profession itself. It's my pleasure now to introduce first the special guest, Rosarii Mannion. Rosarii Mannion, currently employed as National Director, People and Change in Tulsa, Ireland Child and Family Agency. The agency currently holds the National Coaching Culture Award. Prior to this, she worked internationally with global consulting firm. She also worked as National HR Director in the Health Service Executive, which was awarded the ICF Global Prism Award in 2018. She's a passionate believer in developing coaching culture to maximize staff performance and staff engagement in the workforce, particularly in the health and social sector. Her PhD research area is on the impact of coaching cultures on staff performance. She was awarded ICF Ireland Business and Executive Coach of the Year in 2017 and in 2018, that's a double. She was awarded the Ireland HR Leader in 2018, she was awarded the Ireland HR Leader of the Year. Rosarii is the PCC coach, chartered fellow of the CIPD, a qualified mediator, executive and conflict coach that holds a BA, HDIP, MA and MSc. She is a chartered director and is currently the global board chair of ICF Professional Coaches Board of Directors. We're very happy to have Rosarii with us. Vijayalakshmi S is the other special guest today. Viji, as she is fondly and popularly known, is a master coach and mentor, MCC ICF, MP, MCC, ATC ICF, with over 3,250 hours of coaching across executive, leadership, wellness, conflict, and systemic team coaching, and across leading organizations and levels of leadership. She's a coaching evangelist. She holds a wellness coaching close to her heart. She is the founding volunteer leader of Coaches for You, an impactful pro bono coaching initiative. Immediate past president of ICF Chennai Charter Chapter, received the Guru Award for Coaching Excellence at ICF India Coaching Conclave 2022. A thought leader, content contributor, and keynote speaker on coaching and leadership. As a champion of volunteer leadership, she has donned several roles over the past 6 years with ICF Chennai Charter Chapter and built it up to as a strong chapter and has led it to receive the Chapter Excellence Award from ICF Global. Folks, I would be tossing a few questions to both the special guests on the topic and of course a few other things. I request all the participants to freely share your thoughts and comments in the chat box as the conversation proceeds. Let me start with you, Vijay. When an organization or an individual is considering coaching as a modality to develop people and more, of course, the first question they'll be asking is, why coaching? What does it seek to do? If you consider this question at the dream or vision level, can you please share your thoughts on what is the purpose of coaching really?
Thank you, PMC. Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Rosarii, for being here today. It is such a privilege to be on this side of the ultimate edition of ATC. So I'm clearly sort of wearing a different hat today. So, and PMC, you have taken off your role as the host to such a great start by throwing the toughest question in the textbook. Yeah, the 10,000 feet question. Maybe you're getting back at me, but it's okay. I will play along. But you had me at that because I am somebody who likes to start right at the bottom, the first principles, the why, the purpose. So I think it's a great question, and I knew this was coming, so I had kind of also prepared. I mean, prepared in this. What can you prepare for it, right? You can reflect. As coaches, we are all great reflective practitioners. So I think I was doing that. So I don't have like a ready one sentence answer. Okay, but I'm going to talk through this, and I'm really more curious to know what Rosarii will have to share about this. So I think first things first, given the multiplicity and the myriad applications of coaching, I think it's a little restraining to call out a singular purpose. Kind of goes against, I would say, the beautiful multifaceted beauty that coaching is, right? To call out one thing. But that being said, I think having been a coach practitioner for over 20 years now, I do know that coaching has a greater purpose than what we attribute it, I would say, in our work as coaches or seekers of coaching services. There is a greater purpose. So how do we identify this greater purpose? So I was thinking, when we talk about purpose, it's the why. So let's rephrase this question a little bit. Yeah. What if coaching was not there? Or what if, and I hope that never comes true, but what if coaches just disappeared from the face of the earth? Will that make a difference to anyone? Will that make a difference to anything? And I think therein lies the clue to our why, the reason for our existence. Now, I want to, and you mentioned about the wellness coaching bit, which I'm very passionate about, health and well-being in general. And I know Rosarii is also very passionate about that. One of the things I have learned before I became a wellness coach, I would say, and even today, I am somebody who's very committed to well-being. And I see a lot of people like Rahul here who is very committed to well-being. One of the first lessons or, first realizations that you have when you pursue or when you commit to well-being is that it's never too late to start. Nothing is too little, right? There is always scope to make your tomorrow better than yesterday. These are all fundamental principles, right? You just have to take that first step. And I think coaching, in a manner of speaking, also helps us take that first step. First step towards what? That's where I would like to bring in, a different perspective. And let's kind of context it with the pandemic. Many of us, I don't think there's anybody on this call here today who, would say that something didn't change after the pandemic for them. Yeah, the pandemic touched all of us in different ways. I also think it touched humanity and the world at large. Now, why am I talking about this? One of the things we all realized in the pandemic is that change is inevitable. And we have to embrace change. The second thing that I want to talk about, so that's the first C, right? And by now you should know I would have like a 4C or a 4P or something. Today is the 4C, and I promise I didn't retrofit it. it's just emerging. The first one is change. So I think coaching enables change. The second one that I want to talk about is capacity. If you go back to the classic definition of coaching, whether it's ICF or anything else, it's all about maximizing potential. And what is potential really? Potential is about capacity. Right? It's about people, teams, organizations, systems maximizing their capacity. Yeah, and that is playing to full potential, or that is leveraging your potential. But I think most important is choice. In the pandemic or after the pandemic, I think a lot of us made a choice. Change cannot happen without choice. So we are talking about intentional change or change built on choice. So if I were to thread these three together, I think the greater purpose of coaching is to enable, this world and every entity. And when I mean an entity, I don't mean just a human being, systems included, to really, I think, live, or let's say change and live to their capacity. Once they make that choice, it cannot be forced. It cannot be, it cannot be offered. I remember the times when, organizations would nominate people for coaching. You can't nominate someone for coaching, right? It has to start with you. And the fourth thing that so where does all this lead, right? That, let's say coaching enables people to live a certain quality of life, to be in a certain way, to make that change. Ultimately, it also affects culture. So when coaching is in place, and I think the coaching principles are in place, whether you call it having coaches, coaching skills, whatever you want to call it, culture changes. Before you realize it, the world as you knew it, the place as you knew it has changed. And that's culture. So I think the greater purpose of coaching has to do with these 4 C's and the amalgamation, which is, change, capacity, choice, and culture. So I want to just say this one line, right, about the greater purpose of coaching. If you were to ask me a one-liner, and I know you may throw that at me next, PMC. I mean, by now I just know perhaps what you will go next. So let me give you my one-liner, which hopefully will connect. For me, my one-liner is coaching exists to enable a better life and a better world. And I genuinely believe in this.
Lovely. Better life and better world, and 4C: change, capacity, choice, and culture. That's a beautiful framework. And now I would invite Rosarii to add her thoughts or share her thoughts on the same issue of what is the purpose of coaching really.
Thank you very much. And colleagues, thank you for having me here this afternoon on your webinar. It's a real pleasure and privilege. I have, over the last number of years, observed a lot of the work that Vijay has been doing there. And indeed, I've experienced firsthand the work of ICF Chennai chapter. And really and truly, it has all been so inspiring and uplifting. So it's just a real dream come true to be here with you this afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity. To your specific question, the purpose, I suppose, as Vijay has said, there is no single answer, because the purpose of coaching is going to very much depend on where people are coming to. And within coaching and the entire philosophy, we must meet people where they're at. We know people are the experts in their own lives. They are not passive recipients. They are not observers. They know what they need, which is why I have found at an individual, at a community, and at a whole societal level, coaching represents the best investment you can make. Now, naturally, nobody can make you change. So this must be voluntary. You must come to this with an open mind. You must come to this because you want to. You must not come to this because you have been identified or because there is some deficit identified. Absolutely not. Coaching embodies the growth mindset. We want to allow people to excel within their own lives, within their own communities. I have found in an organizational context that coaching does represent the best return on investment. The day of training courses and going off away on a retreat for a week or two, whatever the case may be, does generally not, in my experience, I suppose, allow translation back to the workplace in terms of values, culture, behaviours, our obligation around sustainability, society. So I suppose I don't have an answer specifically. I don't have one answer on the purpose, but I hope that's given you some kind of insight in relation to my thought process on this. The three words that I would say, just prompted by Viji's acronyms, but just the three words I would bring to the table when I think about this is partnership. In coaching, we are partners. You don't have a boss. You're not in a command and control situation. It's not top down, but it's very much a partnership of equals that allows people to move forward in their own lives. The second word I would have is around participation. As a coach, whether you are coaching or the recipient of coaching, team coaching, whatever it is, you're an active participant. You're not a bystander, an observer. Therefore, you're bringing your heart, your mind, your soul to what you're doing. And just the third word I would bring to the table really is around multidimensionality. No one size fits all. We can't put people in a box, or we shouldn't. And I suppose that's my thing with training courses. There's a tendency to do that. And likewise within organizations, there are multi-dimensionalities in relation to any of the issues that we are dealing with, be that people, finance, resourcing, community, sustainability, whatever the case may be. So within the coaching framework, it allows that broader multi-dimensionality in terms of any of the very complex issues that we were dealing with, and allowing complex people, complex human beings to really take, ownership of their own issues and move those forward within what is an extraordinarily complex environment and a complex world. So I suppose the purpose, I hope that helps. It's not a black and white answer. Suffice to say, I've said this, I am completely passionate about this area, both in terms of the individual and the organization. And I think collectively, we all have an obligation to really try and move forward with this positive growth agenda in our own lives. Our lives will be better within our own communities, and especially within society. When any of us sit down and watch the news currently, we see there is a role for coaching in terms of everything you hear. Everything, this growing sense of othering that we're having. There's an increase in fear in the world. We have the advent of social media. We have climate change. We have social justice issues. And what framework answers all of those in a positive way, in a non-threatening way, in an engaging way? The coaching framework. So never has there been a better time for us, really, whatever your purpose is and whatever purpose you see for coaching, never has there been a better time to align that in the world and really help us to enable a better and a thriving society. Thanks.
Great. Thank you, Rosarii. In fact, I see commonality between what Vijay had said and what you have said. Vijay said, if you remove the coaches, what will happen? And therefore, I look at the purpose. And you say, when you have to have coaching, otherwise there is no option. That's the kind of message I get. And partnership, participation, multidimensionality, and there is no one single purpose for coaching. It is customizable and bespoke. Fantastic. Super. Now moving on. The ICF definition of coaching includes the phrase to maximize potential. Both of you have touched upon potential. So let me ask you this question anyway. Maximize the potential with reference to the individual coaching client. One way I can look at potential is possibilities, capacity, and deliverables. Vijay also mentioned that, among other things. Now, if I flip the question to coaching itself, what is the potential of professional coaching? What are your thoughts, Vijay?
Yeah, so today you have decided to go with like the tough answer paper. So we will also give you a good response, PMC. We will try. And I know there are so many people who are committed about coaching sitting here, our ATC regulars. Please put in your thoughts as well, because I think that will really enrich the conversation, and, we can bring in those perspectives. And if something does not sit well, please raise that also. Let's make this a dialogue. Like I said, potential is about capacity. Right. And once you and I had this conversation also, PMC, which is about if you really look at a very raw concept, right, of physics, it's really, in that conversion of potential energy to kinetic energy and back again to potential energy is where the strength of coaching lies. Yeah. So energy that is latent, which is potential, gets translated into kinetic energy, which is performance, and then it kind of comes back, it kind of builds the reservoir again for more potential. So if you really look at that as, as an analogy and we apply it to coaching, I would just say the potential is infinite. And I think as Rosarii called out, it's changing, right? Whoever thought post-pandemic, I mean, look at ourselves, right? This has become our default way of connection across a Zoom screen, and we know each other. We as coaches, or I would even say clients, have pivoted and have really understood how to maximize that. So I think the world we live in today, whether we like it or not, is embracing opportunities. We don't have a choice. We will be left behind otherwise. The world is changing too fast. Nothing can be taken as a given anymore. So because coaching is such a shifting dynamic, right? And because the goalpost, and here we're not talking about the, client's goal, right? We're talking, imagine coaching was an entity and it had a voice, right? And it could speak. What would it say? It would say that, oh my God, just when I thought I was focusing on enabling people to perform better in organizations, and that's why, I was being used. Today, you're shifting and saying, hey, develop people, create potential, create well-being, create people who are future ready, right? So that's changing. So coaching has a tough job, really. Okay. I mean, every profession has a tough job, but I think coaching is even more because it's very dynamic and it's very nuanced. So I would just say that the potential is infinite simply because every time we feel we've, gone and reached a certain distance, newer opportunities are coming. But that's amazing, isn't it? To be able to unearth, new aspects of potential. So for example, when I started my coaching practice and, the whole well-being space, I'm just giving it as an example, was one sort of niche. And then leadership coaching, of course, had its, high and mighty place, which is where, I think most people started off coaching with. As things evolved, and again, I would say in the last couple of years, today, leadership wellness is a niche. You coach leaders, you work with leaders. I think the first and the most important sacrosanct thing that they want to work on is, hey, I want to take care of myself, because that's something that always gets compromised. And today organizations are willing to invest in that. So look at how the potential is shifting. So I would say coaching has potential. Any place where, people want to, I think, make that shift, achieve goals that seem impossible in the start, etc., coaching has a place. So to that extent. So, and how much have we, how much has coaching really, utilized its own potential? I would say it's just begun. There is a long, long way to go. But I think I'm not saying that to kind of give a very negative picture or disappointing kind of state of affairs. No, when potential has not been tapped, there's also huge opportunity. So today, the application of coaching, what was originally confined to an organizational executive privilege of the few kind of thing. Even today, I know there's a bar to access coaching, but that's a separate topic, right? How do we democratize it? But the point is, I think if 18, 19-year-olds can talk about, I had a conversation with my coach. Now, that's the narrative that we want to see, right? That shows that we're tapping the potential. That shows that the applications are so many. Students, homemakers, sports, of course, always had coaching historically. But name it, right? Teams, cross-functional teams, returning mothers. I think entrepreneurs, small business owners. Today, the potential of coaching is just there, some of these segments. And there's just so much more we can do. So I would say infinite, potential. We are probably scratched the surface. But before we make a plan to say, what all pastures will be kind of, coaching will accomplish and, kind of become it's Superman or Superwoman, the goalpost will change. New opportunities will come. The world will change. The world will throw new problems. So one of my favorite questions during the COVID used to be, right? When the COVID is raging, what are the coaches doing? What should the coaches be doing? Now that's a potential question, right? If we are in the profession of service and help and support and enablement, what were we doing during COVID? What difference could we have made? And, and some question like that was, you mentioned about Coaches for You, PMC, which was a movement that organically started, right? It was part of nobody's plan. That was a coach response. That was the profession's response. I will imagine in 2019, 2020, I had a plan in the summer for a holiday. My life changed. The community shifted, everything changed. But I think that ability to be able to give that last mile response, to be able to pivot our responses, I think is the greatest opportunity and potential we have for coaching.
Superb, Vijay, infinite potential, and I especially like the energy conservation. As a student of physics, I can understand, and I do appreciate that the action, the mobile energy has to build up further latent energy. That's the point I liked in that equation, and we will discuss more on that. I can even give some equations on that later on. Rosarii, your point of view on the potential of coaching.
Thanks, Vijay. Some wonderful insights there. Thank you for sharing. I'm supposed aligned and different. I think the real potential lies around our ability to develop, connect, influence, and lead. So I suppose we all have a need and an obligation really around development, whether that's in our own lives, in our families, in our community, in society. And again, the coaching framework will really help us to do that. And again, there's multiple strands to that when, like, we talk about the multidimensionality. So when we're talking about developing locally, developing in organizations, developing in our families, developing that multiplicity and complexity, really. But coaching has potential in all those areas and in all those aspects. Vijay has picked up on the area of connection. We know as human beings, we have an innate need to connect. We know that. Coaching allows us to connect on a very equal and inclusive basis. When we look back at the experience within COVID, actually people who were connecting, and there's research on this, but who were engaging even on Zoom platforms had better outcomes. They came through COVID in a stronger way, mentally stronger, more able, more positive. But we have that in it. And look at us here, enabled through technology, able to connect across the globe over lunch, have a coffee conversation. It is just amazing. We'd love to be in person, but even on Zoom, it's just what we have that need to connect. Then I suppose in relation to influence, coaching can influence better outcomes. It can influence even the spend in terms of where are we investing? Where would we like to see social impact? How would we like to be influencing the education market? How do we want to be, I suppose, affecting industry? All of that. So we can influence with our coaching. That is so, so important. Each one of us doesn't have to be a multinational or a global, because we know that coaching will create those ripples across organizations, and that will enable us to do better and to be in safer, more psychologically safe and involved environments. The final point then around leading. Again, I have to take you back. It's multidimensionality, because leading means different things to different people. But within the coaching framework, particularly if you look at the role of ICF, which is the global coaching leader, both in terms of reach and membership, we have an obligation to lead in terms of the coaching competencies, the code of ethics, the framework, our training, all of that. And, so I suppose just around the potential PMC, develop, connect, influence, lead, right? ICF does commission global research annually and biannually. And some of the feedback that was coming back, I suppose specifically looking at the coaching profession, but one of the greatest risks coming back to us were people who were calling themselves coaches, but that aren't actually trained professional, haven't put in the hours, haven't put in the supervision or whatever else. And that links me back to my point around the develop, connect, influence, and lead. Because as coaches, we need to make sure that we are creating the right environment to allow coaching to be accepted, to allow the very, very highest standards to be visible for all who come in contact. So again, leading, taking the research that ICF has put out there, and it is available on the website, and seeing within our chapters or within our individual practice, what are we doing to lead on that and to influence the agenda? And again, another area that comes up quite a bit really is, this, I won't say, I think fear is too strong a word, but I suppose this reticence around AI, artificial technology, etc. Are we going to be redundant? What would this, I can chat to chatbot, I can do all of this. Again, going back to our develop, connect, influence, and lead, surely as coaches, we can take those issues that are coming through in the research and collectively find a position. Excuse me, I have a flu at the moment. But collectively find a position that we are able to enable and have a better boundary and structure and presence for coaching across the globe. So, I mean, using all those pieces to allow us really to advance the coaching profession and ensure that we are making way for new technologies, new experiences, and that all times we're getting our balance and our focus right in terms of the overall potential. So I suppose that's a long answer, and there's a lot in it. We could take any of those points and delve deeply, but I suppose it just does speak, I suppose, again, to the multidimensionality around that. One final point, if I can, PMC, before I hand back. I'll have to hand back soon because I need to get the drink of water. But one of the issues within our own investment, within cultures and organizations, we have found nothing compares with coaching in terms of realizing potential for staff. And that's small, something very small investment. It doesn't have to be huge. It doesn't have to be very expensive. You don't need to spend a year in Harvard or doing a PhD, but that small investment in individuals has such huge potential within the workplace in terms of impacting outcomes for customers, for clients, for service users, that it is actually the potential. As Fiji said, it's untapped. It is untapped. And what we really need to be getting to is a whole systems approach, so that we have coaching at the entire life cycle for ourselves and for our employees and for our organizations. And I think that's when we will really, really see and feel the overall potential of coaching being maximized and realized. Thanks, PMC.
PMC, with your permission, I want to add on something to what Rosarii said. And the last point about how it can actually cause that ripple effect is absolutely true. And what I want to say is, this is not, only achieved through, let's say, everybody having a coach, an external coach, or, working with a coach. Even shifts like, imparting or, kind of just cascading or, sharing those coaching skills. And you and I know, which is, people think it's just listening, but it's a lot more. Even enabling people to, I think, express and articulate their need for change or forward progress, or, just sort of looking beyond is such a potent skill to have, not just in organizations, but, in families, in schools, in name any ecosystem. And I think therein lies the potential that, while organizations, of course, see the benefit of it, I think taking, my favorite word is coaching stance. Can we, often in coach circles, it's called as being coach-like. But, I feel that's too boxing things in. I like stance, right? You take a stance. And having a coaching stance is very powerful stance, because it's a stance of influence, it's a stance of inspiration, and it's a stance of being informed. Thanks, Rosarii. Thank you for inspiring me to say that.
Wow. Thank you, Rosarii and Vijay, for such wonderful answer. So the takeaway that I have, the different people take different keywords. So I picked up these things. Coaching potential is in the creating impact, creating influencer for being an influencer for a better outcome, however small the return is. and a coaching stance rather than being like emulating a coach, right? These are some of the things that I have picked up. Lovely one. So I'm reshuffling a couple of questions because I know Rosarii has a hard stop in a moment to go. Rosarii, you have mentioned in your answer about potential the role of ICF Global and some of the initiatives they've taken. So let me ask you a combined question. How does building on the purpose potential of coaching, how does it align with the mission and vision of ICF? That is one. You have already answered parts of that, so you could continue with that. And a few of the strategic efforts led by ICF in recent times to grow coaching.
Thank you. PMC, you can hear me. Yes, I'm not on mute. Well, I think everything that we have heard is very, very much aligned with ICF Global and our view. Like, if we just look specifically at the vision, a world where coaching is integral to transforming societies. Like, that's what we have heard coming through. That's what we try and do every single day within our practices. As a credentialed coach, that's what you're doing. That's what you're trying to do. You know, we do know that coaching is more than the individual or whatever else. It's about that social impact, transforming societies. Really, that coaching is a way of being. And I think once that you train, you develop, and you become more experienced as a coach, it's not something that you are 9 to 5 in your coaching practice or when you're working with clients. This is a way of being. It's how you live your life. And ultimately, I think that's what will transform societies. ICF is the leader on this and driving forward. And again, the mission, we advance coaching excellence, impact, and value worldwide. And that is the experience, I think, and I hope, of members across the globe. Not everything is perfect, but ICF is always moving forward, trying to improve, grow, develop. I think probably the most radical identification and visibility of that is in relation to the creation of the 6 family organizations in 2020, when ICF actually restructured. And I'm hoping our colleagues on the line may be well familiar with this, but rather than have the International Coach Federation, we have the International Coaching Federation, with our 6 family organizations with dedicated staff and resource looking at each individual aspects. For instance, I'm on the professional coaches board of directors. So what we are doing is looking at everything that we think should be relevant to a professional coach, how we can help with training, development, engaging with our membership, seeing what the issues are, making sure that we are aligned, that we have put in regional structures to try and support chapters, and all of that. If you look then at another family organization, coaching in organizations, and again, we are seeing the impact within all the resources that are available, even on the website, that you can touch your regional director, get in touch. What is the industry research saying? Where should we be? Where are we in relation to artificial intelligence? What's coming down the line? How can we help our employees become coaches if they want to do so, have internal coaches, external coaches? Perhaps we want a short, brief coaching skills module for managers that won't be able to put forward the time. If we look at thought leadership, that we are commissioning the research that enables us to get ahead of the curve, be best in class, share that research across the system, and individual coach practitioners around the world then are not going to be at a loss for wondering what's topical, what's coming down. Again, fantastic resources there, all available through ICF. And of course, really, really importantly, and I have touched on this earlier, the importance of credentialing. What makes an ICF coach different to any other coach? Somebody that does a lunchtime session for 2 hours, comes out and says, maybe I'm a coach, that will undermine the entire profession. But having that credential, so you know that you have your ACC, your PCC, your MCC, your team coaching, and you know that you're getting the highest quality coaching when you bring an ICF coach into the organization. And again, in terms of the branding, ICF is very, very proactive in relation to this. So I think, that is really what ICF, some of the work of ICF, and of course, how could we not mention the work of the foundation? So in terms of looking at volunteering, the impact, your own chapter has done a lot of work in this area. It has been recognized globally on that. But again, that, for colleagues that have the time and interest around getting involved in social issues, doing pro coaching, etc. But they can do that through the 8-Night Project and through the ICF Foundation. So ICF really is not found wanting, I think, in terms of being a positive, proactive organization, non-profit, working absolutely night and day on behalf of our members to grow, develop, and really make visible our mission and vision. So that was the first part of your question, PMC. Do you want to remind me of the second part?
Strategic initiatives taken by ICF to grow coaching.
Okay, so ICF, in terms of the structure, we have regional directors now in all the areas. So for instance, you will have your regional director, Europe, Middle East and Africa, Asia Pac, and right, you know, so you have a team there that is to support your chapters. So if you need resources, if you need help, if you need hand-holding, if you want to look at the governance of your chapter, that you are going to get that resource locally and available to you. So that's one aspect. Secondly, ICF has been very proactive in relation to some high-profile partnerships with companies and organizations, again, because we understand we have to collaborate, right? There's no point in competing in relation to this agenda. So we collaborate, get the best of both worlds, and have a win-win outcome for our members, and bring absolute best in class to membership where we can align and have those strategic partnerships for members across the area. Again, I think in terms of our whole presence on social media, our communications has improved radically. We have probably one of the global leaders now involved in marketing in ICF. That post holder is just there probably 12 months or so, so we're starting to see the ripples coming through. You know, making resources available, making them user friendly, having research in short, sharp bites that is usable to our members across the globe. And really, I suppose, I think what ICF wants to do is listen and engage with membership, hear what the issues are, and then therefore align our strategic plans around that to make sure that we are delivering on the ambitions for our members.
Good.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank
Thanks,
you very
PMC.
much. In fact, 2019 onwards, I've been watching a number of changes in ICF. So very well aligned with what you have said. It is being delivered. So not an issue. Superb. I mean, ICF is dynamic and responsive to the needs of the times, whether the change of ethics, change in credentialing standards and whatnot. We can go on, but that's good. Thank you very much. Now,
PMC, can I jump back in for one moment, if that's okay? Because
sure, please.
ICF is only as good as our volunteers across the globe, and volunteers support the organization. They give their time, they serve on chapters, they organize events. Again, I've been party to your events, absolutely extraordinary. But when I have the opportunity on the floor, I just do want to formally acknowledge Vijay and her work as a volunteer for ICF over the last number of years. I know you've run these afternoon, well, it's afternoon where I am, but you've run these workshops, Vijay, and they're absolutely so topical, so interesting, so vibrant, so engaging. And I certainly want to thank you and appreciate you and wish you very, very well. I know you're going to be still involved in ICF, but not doing the All Things Coaching webinars. And just really, really sincerely thank you from my heart for all you have done as a volunteer. You are a role model to us across the globe, and we do sincerely appreciate you and thank you.
Thank you very much, Rosarii. Just to add to what you have said, in fact, we had a special webinar on behalf of our chapter on volunteer leadership. It was a brilliant show and well attended and well appreciated as well. Thank you. Now, considering the time that you need to go, I'm Vijay, I'm not done with you. I still have a couple of questions. So, okay.
It'll have to be a quick fire round, PMC.
Yeah. Now we are opening up Ask Me Anything round session. Considering the time, we can handle 2 or 3 questions. Ask me anything on ICF that Rosarii can answer, and of course on coaching. Rosarii and Vijay both can answer on both the things. Questions, quick questions, please, from the audience.
I think there's one in the chat box I'm seeing already, PMC. I think that's from Ram.
Okay.
Maybe you can read it out.
I can't see it, guys, yet.
Rosarii, would you want to take that?
I can't see the chat there, guys. Can you read it out?
Subbu, could you read that question, please? Or Subha can read that.
I'll do that. As an aspiring ICF coach, would like to know thoughts of speakers and senior pros here on commoditization of coaching today. Yeah, commoditization of coaching today. There are many in the market today who call themselves as coaches who are not trained and haven't gone through the rigor of coaching practice, impacting coaches and market today. How do we deal with this of this profession?
Thank you, Ram. And I think I was picking up on that point earlier. Yes, that's a real issue. It has come through in the survey as probably one of the biggest risks facing ICF at the moment. How we deal with that, I think, is within organizations. If we are tendering, if we are taking in companies to do work, make sure that the companies you deal with are ICF credentialed. And that way you will know that you are getting your credentialed coach and that you have that high standard, that high quality within the organization and the agency. And that is something that we are moving to rapidly. Thank you.
Okay. Any other question that we can
I can
see?
add on to that very quickly.
Yes.
Ram, I think Rosarii has given the perspective of ICF and what's happening at a macro level. And I really mean this because I have gone through, I hear you, I feel what you're saying. The last one I heard last week was, I am an MS Excel coach. I said, oh, wow. That's a nice niche to have. So, you don't find any other word, you can, just replace it with the word coach. So that's stylish and that's cool. So I'm happy about it. But I think, I don't want to underplay the effort of ground level effort, right? So communities, chapters, collectives, individual coaches, we all can be crusaders for this to ensure that we're pushing up the need. I mean, it doesn't mean that you're underplaying anyone. The world, like Rahul says, there's a place for everybody, but I think education, and I think education about quality and what all people go through, in a very rigorous kind of becoming a coach needs to be spoken about more. And I don't think we should shy away from it. And a quick tip, if you're an ICF member, there are tons of resources. Your chapters will also have resources to help you with that. So chapters alone cannot win this. ICF alone cannot do this. I think at ground level, this needs to, this advocacy needs to be there.
Good. And any other question from anyone?
I think there's one in there on measurement and evaluation. And I suppose there's a couple of ways I look at this. There's the return on investment. There's also the return on expectation. So I suppose, what is the expectation of the corporates, when they're going down this route? What do they need to see? And again, what measurement can be put in place? Some good measurements and evaluation that I have found and used really are in relation to staff engagement surveys, impact surveys, looking at coaching, looking at the level, I suppose, of complaints and compliments. When you have brought in a coaching culture, have things improved for staff? Are staff actively recommending their employer as a place of choice? And again, there are very simple measures that you can do, your MPT score, all of these things. Your financial people will always want to see the results on the bottom line, on the balance sheet. Coach is not linear. So it's not going to be A, B, C, D, or that you will immediately see a response within 6 months within a culture, within a coaching culture. So we've got to have that maturity as well to explain this is a long-term process. It's not linear. We don't behave that way, and that's not really something that we will see. And of course, not every single thing that matters can be measured on a balance sheet. It is much broader. Again, my point around the multidimensionality. However, you do need to have your measures in place. When corporates are bringing in coaches and putting out tenders, they will have that generally within their measurement framework. And again, once you have that, clarity is absolutely key. Once you have that clarity up front, I think number one, you'll have a better chance of winning the tender. And number two, you'll be able to evidence that return on expectation.
Thank you.
Okay.
Two questions we have handled, and though it looked very ordinary, yet it's good to realize that seems to have a global issue. So seems to be a global issue. That's the credential versus non-credential, and commoditization versus specialization with the training and things like that, and the measurement part of it. Why will somebody invest money? Thank you very much for your answers, Rosarii. We will.
PMC, there's one more that I would love for Rosarii to take.
Yeah.
because it's directly from
It's a real pleasure, PMC, VG, to be here. Thank you. I'm going to take this final question, and with that, colleagues, I will have to take my leave. What I would say in that is, if there is anything that comes up over the course of the call, if there are issues that you want addressed, I realize this is the last call you'll be having, please do reach out, send me an email, direct message me, whatever the case may be, and I will be really, really happy to engage with you. And colleagues, to thank you again for taking the time. You know, you are the heart's blood of ICF. We do so appreciate everything that you do. Now, the question that I had seen there, what can be done about the market? I think this is the one, is it? What can be done about the market, specifically in India, not valuing the ICF credentialed coaches? The answer I would have there is a marketing and a communications campaign. That is what's required there. My Vice President, Steve Wise, who is the VP for professional coaches, has actually taken this as a key performance indicator and is going to be dedicating time, energy and resource to that in 2024. And then the second one, anything from ICF Asia Pacific to make a minimum fee to hire a credentialed coach. Anything from ICF Asia Pacific to make a minimum fee to hire a credentialed coach. I don't think so. Certainly, I'm not aware of anything on that. And if there is, I will come back and clarify. So with that, colleagues, I'm going to take my leave. Thank you for your time, for your attention, for all you do. And please do keep in touch. Thank you, VG. Wishing you the very, very best of luck. Thank you for having me here. And thank you, PMC, for excellent moderation. So appreciate it, and enjoy the rest of your session.
Thank
Rosarii,
you.
we are going to ask
you.
you for only 30 seconds because we need to do a photograph with you and we don't know when we will get you back again. And I think there's something else also, right, for PMC, but we will take totally 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Maybe we'll go with the photograph first, and then I'll invite Raj to quickly share his thoughts.
2 minutes.
Yeah, the photos are done. Thank you.
Yeah.
Raj, over to you.
Yeah, Raj, over to you. Raj Dharma
Rosarii, I
is
know
the
you're
current
leading,
president
so
of ICF Chennai Charter Chapter.
I will just say, add my thanks, Rosarii and Vijay, for a wonderful, sharing of perspectives and taking away your point about coaching being about growth mindset and, being able to unlock value, and a positive impact for individuals in society. Thank you so much for being here. Vijay, loved your framework about the 4 C's. And what can I say, that converting coach as a catalyst to convert potential to kinetic energy in an infinite loop. That's a stellar takeaway. Thank you both very much. It's been a pleasure to have.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Rosarii.
Bye, Rosarii. Thank you very much. Vijay, one more question to you, right? ATC has been another vehicle with the same purpose of growing coaching, as Rosarii has outlined from ICF Global perspective. As a visionary and chief architect of ATC, could you share your lived experiences about the journey of ATC and the potential it tapped into?
Thank you, PMC. This is a very difficult question to, I think, answer in just a couple of minutes. I would just say, like you beautifully said, ATC was a bold experiment. It was an experiment we really, like, the previous point that I answered, it was about ground level advocacy. It's about saying, how much will we talk about coaching not growing? And we realized in the ICF India conclave, all we need to do is make that effort. And a conclave kind of makes an effort for 3 days. Of course, our conclave has, I think, lived on through, all the 45 videos which are available on YouTube, and people keep going back to it. But I think a more conscious, a more inclusive, a more, a space where people can come and ask these kind of questions, right? And no question has been taboo. No answer has been not acknowledged. And I think that's that inclusiveness that we wanted to create. We wanted to create an authentic source of coaching information. On the last count, I think more than 450 or 400 people have been touched by ATC in one way or the other. We've had people coming in, unique participants, and then there are the regulars. So these are the regulars who are going to be the waves of change. right? What we discuss here, people will take forward in their own individual capacities. People who are not sure about what is this, mumbo jumbo about coaching could actually come and listen to real stuff, right? Unfiltered, not sort of heroing and glamorizing coaching, but call it out as it is. So I think it's that ground level, authentic, realistic impact that I feel so proud of, and you have been a part of that journey, right? Co-creating it at every step. The chapter has backed us, the board, Raj, everybody, right? Subbu are here today, and I think this is the kind of ripple effect that we wanted to create. And we in our first launch edition, I still remember you and I discussing, saying, okay, we'll do one, and you asked me, will people come, right? Will we have like 20 people? On an average, we used to average about 50 to 70 people, right? And that used to be the pull of the space. And the thing that I used to love most is nobody, right, held back from speaking or sharing their views. There was no MCC, ACC, credential, not credential, coach, client, none of that, right? I mean, it was level playing field. And we need more conversations, more spaces like that. So, with season close, I'm certainly going to miss that. But I think that is really what we accomplished. 16 sessions, PMC, that's statistics for you. 22 months, 16 sessions, 450 people touched, many people who came and co-created this. So I think that's in a nutshell. And I genuinely believe we have done our bit, and, we have started doing our bit to grow coaching in a very realistic, organic sort of way. And, with that, I hope we can segue into our next segment. But, I can't wait to, we've had some serious talk, serious conversations. So I spoke about wearing hats. I will switch back to this side because I have a very envious task of engaging with, 8 of our exquisite stars, but not before we, give everybody. This is not a bio break, folks, but you can grab something, sit back in your seat, because we have a video for you. And what I spoke about ATC, more than words, I think you need to see this, that we put something together for you. It's a 4-minute video. I know it's longish, but please, please stay and enjoy the journey. You might spot yourself there. You might just find out what all has happened in this 22 months. So PMC, with your permission, I would like to bring that video up.
Sure, please go ahead, Vijay. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, is everyone ready to watch our, one of our final productions from the ATC stable?
Yes.
I love that. Okay, super. Yeah, so this production is called A Journey Called ATC, and you'll know why.
That was lovely. That was lovely. I hope all of you, all the participants here enjoyed it. Go ahead, Vijay.
Yes, thank you. And now we move to our, so the flight has, we'd stopped over. So we're now moving to the second leg of our journey, and a super exciting leg of the journey where we are, back, as I said, with our 8 exquisite. These are people who really made our ATCs come alive, generous to a fault with their time and presence and, just encouragement. And, we had 9 of them. Unfortunately, Ram could not join us today because he's in a very different time zone, but everybody else immediately agreed and jumped in. And the biggest challenge for this segment is going to be time. But true to the spirit of ATC, we are going to ensure we get to hear from all of them and also throw in some questions. So please, if you have questions to our special guests, please put them in the chat box, and you can even say who you want to ask it to. It gives me great pleasure, ladies and gentlemen, to have on stage, and that's the Zoom stage, the Zoom screen.
Cindy Muthukarpan, MCC mentor coach. She was with us on the session focused on becoming a coach. Cindy.
So I'm just trying to find you, Cindy. May I request all the special guests to please turn on your cameras, your videos? Yes, Cindy, got you.
There we go.
And I will bring the others also on. I can see Milind. Thank you, Ujjwal. Ujjwal's here. Pradeep is here as well. John is here. Who am I missing?
Akhil is there.
Yes, Akhil is there. No, but who am I missing on the stage? So this is like a happy Zoom challenge to have. So
Dr. Jade.
Dr. Jade.
Dr. Jade. Can
Hello.
I see? Hi, Dr. Jade. I know it's 10 p.m. for you, so appreciate your joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you so much. Yeah, so we are all set, and so this is the amazing set of co-creators of ATC along with all of you here today. So deepest gratitude and excited to have you back for one final time on this format in this season. So quickly, I want to just go around the table and ask you one word as to what are you feeling coming back? Anyone, you can just unmute and go ahead.
Very grateful to be here.
Yeah, inspired. I'm feeling quite inspired by you and this entire process over the last 2 years and all our guest coaches.
Very excited, Vijay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like the same as Milind, very excited.
I'm excited and humbled, Vijay.
Yeah.
Ujjwal?
I'm excited and also sad, as this is the finale. But yeah, we meet again soon.
Yeah.
Hi, this is Jade. I'm so impressed, VG, by how you managed to gather everybody once more. I think many people struggle with human connection, and you have managed to do this, remotely, having so many people gather here from different parts of the world. And that's really an impressive feat to have done that so many times. So thank you very much for inspiring us. We really have no excuse not to connect with our nearest and dearest and our colleagues and friends in the same states as us, if you can do this and pull it off so magnificently. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. So I'm also, feeling all of those emotions, and really, this is so surreal and beautiful. Thank you so much. So let's jump in, because there is a clock running against, and I have contracted certain time with all of you, and I don't want to eat into any of that. So we'll kind of go around the table. So the format is this. As I had requested all of you, we would love for you to leave or share a message about your experience with ATC, or even coaching in general, or anything that you feel is right for today's edition on purpose, potential, whatever. And then we will ask each of you, 2 questions that you would answer. And I don't have no idea what those questions are, whatever comes in the chat box or anything that, strikes me or PMC. And as we get started with everyone, PMC, if you can first up, give a very quick introduction about Cindy.
So I had a very brief introduction, basically MCC mentor coach, and wanted to give a lot of time for the special guests. So all the guests are known here. So becoming a coach is what Cindy started ATC with. And Cindy, my first question to you on that is very simple. In coaching classes, we always talk about being a coach, becoming a coach, which comes first and things like that. So what would be your refresher answer to us? I'm sure you must have answered this question in several other forums and several other times.
Hi, everyone. I'm really feeling, before I answer that, I'm really feeling grateful that I was here in the opening session. And I'm here at the closing, and, so I have lots of thoughts about beautiful openings and closings, and, and what opportunities that brings to us, or what opportunities then begin to show up for us. So to answer your question, becoming a coach, is that what you're asking me, PM? My thoughts on becoming a coach?
Yeah, we talked about becoming a coach in the earlier stages of coach education. The words of being a coach, becoming a coach, living as a coach, all these things keep floating around. So
absolutely,
I'm sure we have all heard the answers, and you must have handled this question several times. For the general benefit of all of us, could you give your present views on that, please?
Yeah. And, I'll kind of narrow it down into keeping it with today's theme around purpose and potential. Most coaches find this kind of burning desire or longing inside them on doing something more. And upon further reflection and evaluation of what that is, they discover they want to become a coach. And it involves, reflecting on self and becoming more self-aware or discovering self. And then, of course, helping others in a very systemic way and seeing the ripple effect of this process called coaching. So becoming a coach, being a coach is very linked to living your purpose and those steps that you intentionally take to reflect on your aspirations and what's meaningful to you as you become better and better. And then, that leads to that process of intentionally taking steps and becoming aware of what's evolving in you brings out all this capacity and potential and how it grows more and more, this growth mindset and how it evolves more and more out of you. So this process of living your purpose, living with potential is quite deliberate, and it requires reflection and kind of a mindfulness, paying attention, and then, of course, taking that action step needed on what's meaningful for you. I'll stop there.
Thanks, Cindy. So please leave us, a message on coaching or on ATC.
So you are leading by example. We can all talk about the being of a coach and the doing of coaching and potential and purpose. And it's wonderful to put it all together and say that you and all the coaches that show up here are leading by example. So whatever messages you are preaching, you're going out there and walking it. That's my message.
Thank you, Cindy. One more question. Can anyone become a coach? Are there some minimum
conditions? I think so. Why not, right? Why not? Everyone has potential in them. Some of them are slower and it requires patience in how it shows up. And some will just dive in with openness and flexibility and it shows up immediately. But yes, of course, anyone can become a coach.
Thank you, Cindy. So everyone on the call who is considering, coaching, that's Cindy's message for you. Rahul has a question. I'll field that one again to you, Cindy. Your short answer before I move to our next special guest. What was your reason to become a coach?
Yeah, I forgot the answer to that, Vijay. It was so long ago. It's so in me now.
Can you
Come on,
imagine
Vijay.
yourself as anyone who's not a coach? Can you imagine yourself as not a coach?
No, like it's like asking me, why did you have children? I don't even know the answer to that either. So, no, I'm gonna take that cheats way out. I have no idea what the answer to that is.
Okay, Cindy, if you remember, please jump back in. But maybe I will pass on that question to Pradeep, who was our, second special guest on ATC. So after the success that we saw with Cindy, we got inspired and we got Pradeep, who immediately agreed. And, since PMC does not have ready-made bio, let me just say it, Pradeep is a leading executive and leadership coach. So Pradeep, let's start with your thoughts or, message or anything that you want to share today.
Oh, you put me on top of the world, Vijay, by calling me, along with people like Sydney, John, Ramesh, and others, exquisite. I thought that was only that. Yes, that's the adjective you use. I thought that was meant only for Cindy. So, having said that, really grateful to be here sharing this platform with old friends. You asked me a question. Sorry, can you just repeat that question?
I'm just passing on the question that I fielded to Cindy. What was your reason to become a coach?
Oh, well, part of corporate life, that's the time coaching was just starting to show itself up in India. And I bumped into an old friend and he had gone through a program in coaching and he talked about what it was all about. That got me excited because to me, it was maybe a way of helping people, which I realized was not the right reason, but nevertheless, that's the way it started. And it's been a tremendously satisfying journey.
Thank you, Pradeep. There's one question which I think is perfect for you because your special session was on organizational leadership coaching. And I think this one is from Khalid. Early on, it was mentioned that coaching should be chosen freely by individuals and not something that organizations decide on behalf of individuals. Well, that was thanks to my comment. I hope it was not out of place. So the question is, what more needs to be done to bring in this education, awareness, etc.?
About coaching?
Yeah, and I suppose in organizations, for more people to say, hey, sign me up, or I'd like to work with a coach.
Yeah, I think first and foremost, congratulations to ATC. Congratulations to PMC and you for actually creating this platform, which is one of the many platforms that you have created that is actually, I'm sure, doing that. I personally am seeing a lot more openness to coaching than, let's say, a few years ago. I don't know whether, I'm sure that's the experience most of you have in corporations. And I think, and some of it is owed to platforms like this that you have created, Vijay, and the previous avatar of it, which was just phenomenal, which you started in the COVID times, and it's platforms like this that I think I'm sure will make a difference as we go along. It's all about education. It's all about helping people see that there is a possibility, and that's one. The second, and I must say this. I think coaches should also be true to their profession. And I think if we do that as coaches, if all of us really live by the profession, and the reason why we are there as coaches, then I think the profession will earn a much better name and the propagation will happen.
Wow. Yeah, that was quite quite thought-provoking, Pradeep, and I'm certainly going to think about that.
Sorry, can I just take a minute? So I love
Absolutely.
PMC's question of, is it being a coach or becoming a coach? I think being a coach is very, very important in my view.
Thank you.
Love it. One more before we move forward, Pradeep, to you. If you could do one thing differently in your journey as, a leadership coach, what would that be?
Met Cindy and Ram years before I actually did.
So for everyone on the call, Cindy and Ram are Pradeep's mentors, if I may say so, Pradeep?
Absolutely.
Pradeep, you're so exquisite to say that.
So he's feeling exquisite now. Join the officially granted access into the e-club. So no, but I think the larger point you're making is finding a mentor for yourself, right? And working with a mentor.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Pradeep. We will come back to you. I'm now going to move on to John. Known by everyone, loved by everyone. And it was no surprise that we roped him in for life coaching. Somebody who I think really embodies that as well. So John was our guest in that edition. If you have questions for John, yes, I think there is something from Lovely. But Lovely, maybe I will pause that question, and I'm kind of also looking at the chat box here. Yeah, I think this is a good one, John. This is from Ram again. It is said that coaches are experts at coaching process and can coach anyone with any content. Then why do we need a niche and its relevance? Help me understand this. Pardon me for basic questions. I've recently started this amazing journey of a coach. Ram, your questions are amazing. So keep them coming. This is what I think has helped us build ATC, where we ask questions. It doesn't matter, right? Whether it's 10,000 feet or, basement level. So John, that's for you. And after that, you can tell us your special message or thought today.
Yeah, so that's a very good question. The fact that we as coaches could potentially coach anybody on any topic, so problem agnostic, domain agnostic in that sense, and that's true. And yet we all ask ourselves this question: why do we need a niche? And actually, this is a question that I've been thinking about for the last 20 odd years. It's one of my favorite topics. And the reason I thought about this is when I read this book, Differentiate or Die, by Al Ries and Jack Trout. And, when he spoke about how you can be singularly focused in what you do and be insanely successful. And to my mind, there are examples of this dotting the highways of India, la galore. Murugan idli comes to my mind, for example, right? The fact that idlis can be made by anybody, and yet their idlis are a sellout, right? And sometimes you wonder why. What makes that different, right? It's all idlis, ultimately, at the end of the day. But here are folks who are so focused on what they do, and they're, excellence is the key there. And because they are so good in their craft, in that specific area, people hearken to visit them, stand in line, wait in a queue. And I think if all of us as coaches are able to find that singular niche for ourselves, you won't have to market much because people will find you. That's one half of the question. The other half of the question is that why do we need a niche? Because how will people know who you are if you claim to do everything for everybody? We end up doing nothing for nobody.
Wow.
So that's my short answer.
You've left us with a lovely, lovely question. I have another one. There are so folks, we are kind of keeping in mind all the questions coming. So please keep them coming. I will appropriately field it to the correct or appropriate guest, unless you have a choice. But John, thoughts, as you came into the session today.
My thoughts. Actually, I'm very nervous Vijay. I don't mind doing a fishbowl coaching in front of all of you, but you put me on the spot, ask me questions. I'm terribly nervous. But what's the thought? I was actually excited. I'm super excited to be here. I did 42 Surya Namaskars before coming in here. So I did my workout for the day. So I'm feeling good. And I've got a dinner to go. I'm actually in Mangalore, to attend my niece's wedding. And so I've got a dinner tonight, which I'll go soon after this. So I'm excited, to meet again family. So yeah, I'm really excited. Thank you.
Thank you so much, John. So one final question before we move forward. When you really look at, and you've been an experienced coach, you love coaching, you love sort of supporting coaches, you do a lot of pro bono work, etc., etc. If there's one lesson for your own life, as a life and leadership coach, that you have got for free because of being a coach, what would that be, and could you share it with us?
Yeah, I mean, I would, I would defer to 8.4, the marker, PCC marker. And I would say that, coaching has really helped me in every area of my life. This afternoon, I was with my old aunt in a little village, literally in the middle of nowhere. My paternal grandfather's home, where I was raised when I was little. So I have a lot of fond memories. But just being there, listening to my cousins, listening to my aunt, the things that you pick up, and were it not for coaching, I would have done a very poor job. But that's one aspect. But it's in the families, it's with my friends, it's in the other work that I do in training and facilitation. I see a lot of rub-off of coaching, and I'm really grateful for that. Super grateful for that.
Thank you so much, John. And now it's my pleasure to, invite Dr. Jade.
So I can heave a sigh of relief now.
No. It's not over till it's actually over, right?
John, it's like in cricket. It's not over until it is over. So
correct, absolutely. So
friends,
but you can chill and relax for some time. So
Dr. Jade Kua is MCC, MBBS, MRCS. She is a master coach, entrepreneur, general and emergency medicine specialist. She was with us for the session, Health and Wellness Coaching.
Hi, guys. Dr. Jade, what a amazing session that was. I think everybody really walked out feeling so charged, and people didn't want to leave you. I think it was so late for you, and they were holding on to you. So super grateful that you're back, and that just goes to show your commitment for all the hats that you wear. There's one question from Lovely that I'll start with, and it's also meaningful to ask this to you because I know you train a lot of health and wellness coaches as well, people to be coaches. What message would you like to convey to newbies entering the coaching profession, being a master coach yourself?
Thanks for that great question. I think the message that I would give to newbie coaches is probably a message of I'd like you to see it as a message of encouragement rather than a warning of doom. But what it is that I want to say is that the coaching journey is often unexpectedly difficult because we think that we are learning skills to change someone else, but in fact, we are actually being changed ourselves. And sometimes we anticipate that the more we know, the better we will feel. But in fact, sometimes the more we know, the worse we might feel as we try to adjust to this new knowledge and being suddenly very sensitive to the things our friends say or conversations outside of a coaching conversation. That sort of situation can be quite difficult to acclimatize to as we find these new skills. So I think my encouragement is that this is something we have to learn to anticipate. That we are not just learning theoretical skills to change someone else. We're not just teaching people, but we ourselves are being changed. And when that happens, there'll be moments when we feel like we have a lot of newfound sensitivity, and sometimes that works out very well. But there are also many, many occasions where it does not, particularly when it is outside of an encouraging coaching community. So personally, I felt like whenever I reached sort of like little peaks of, coachiness, so to speak, in my personal life or in any other life other than coaching, I felt quite strangely isolated. And then, you just sort of adapt and allow yourself to relearn to be you, to be honest. And other people also adapt to the new you, to the way you speak, the way you project yourself, and then things get better. And then you'll reach a new level of coachiness, and then things seem you find yourself moody all the time or crying all the time, and that's normal. I guess that's what I'm trying to say, is that it's absolutely normal. It's part of growth. So be prepared for that. And if it does happen, don't feel afraid. Don't feel you're weird or isolated or that coaching is not for you. I think that's what I want to say. When that happens, don't feel like you have made the wrong decision to be a coach. It's perfectly normal. I've been through it. Many of my, fellow mentor coaches have been through it, and fellow MCC coaches have been through it as well. So instead of wondering if you've made a mistake and retreating into your shell, reach out to other coaches who may feel the same things that you are feeling. And that's what I like to say.
Thank you so much. I just felt inspired listening to it. Do you have a special message for us on today's occasion, Dr. Jade?
I'd actually like to commend everybody for being here. And I want to encourage us to continue to form these sort of like communities of practice and to reach out, to learn from one another, and to encourage one another, to caution one another for things to expect, whether it's mental, emotional, or physical. Really just to make sure that these are not one and done situations, but that we will continue to meet up. And I really want to thank you, Vijay, once more for taking the lead on this and reaching out again for sort of like a year-end recap. Thanks so much.
One final question to you. I know there are a lot of coach aspirants also who come and join us, and health and wellness coaching is an area that I think is important, but maybe does not find enough takers. One reason why coaches should perhaps, courageously enter that space of health and wellness coaching.
Sure, I think sometimes there's a bit of a barrier. So people might feel like there's a greater community of life coaches, or even perhaps executive coaches, not so many health coaches, perhaps because it's a relatively new niche. Perhaps people feel that if they haven't trained as a doctor or a nurse or a paramedic, they have no business telling people what to do with their physical health. But in fact, that's not true. Health coaching is a legit profession. And I have trained up several batches of health coaches. They lead fulfilling careers. So I'd like to encourage you to consider this if this is something that you are drawn to. So don't be restricted by your fear, as with anything, instead be led forward by your goal. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I'm now going to pass the baton and actually, shine the light on Akhil. Akhil led this session on organization leadership and coaching, a confluence. So he was a confluence person, special guest. And again, what a sellout session that was. And, we really had to close the session because we ran out of time. So if you have a question for Akhil, please put that in the chat box. But before that, Akhil, your thoughts about today or about coaching in general?
Yeah, I think about today, one was excitement to be here and back again here. Second, I think there was a sense of regret that I did not attend all the sessions that you had. And I think there's a hope. The third emotion is hope, to say there is, since you called it a season, I'm looking forward to the next season as and when that happens, right? So there is hope, there's a bit of regret, but there's excitement as well, right? So it's a mix of emotions for me here. I think for me personally, I'm very honored to be here. I have both my guru coaches, Ujwalji and Cindy, both here on the platform and the forum here. So I'm very blessed in that way. And when I was getting into coaching, Vijay, I spoke to you. So thank you for that. I thought when I came into coaching, I would be helping find other people their potential. I think I was grossly wrong. I think I'm finding myself. And I think I have a couple of my colleagues who are wanting to be coaches on this call because they got excited about seeing Akhil take this journey from being an executive leader to a coach. So they're on this call, but I think I've found a lot of knowing myself better. And I think that self-reflection has been so powerful for me that I think changes in others and helping them comes later. I think we just discover ourselves. And I think I'm just scratching the surface there. So for me, it's a journey, and all journeys have milestones, but then they continue to the next destination. And I think that's where I look forward to.
Wow, that's truly spoken like a role model. Building on that, Akhil, you, like Dr. Jade, wear two hats. I mean, you have like a very, very high profile day job and, run a very hectic lifestyle. And then you're also so committed to the coaching process. What do you feel more connected to, the leader in you or the coach in you?
I think, honestly, it's like a bit of a seesaw. There are times when you are the leader and then you say, am I really wearing the hat of a coach in this moment? And is my leadership style being directive, or is it being empowering and coaching? And I think that's where the fulcrum comes in, to say, find the balance, because you are on one side and not in the middle. There are times when you're coaching and then you feel, yes, but there is something more to be done here. So for me, I think it's a balance that one wants to walk. At least I want to walk the balance, to say, I have both the responsibilities, but more importantly, as we talked about the confluence of coaching, organizations, and leadership, I think it's the culture that coaches and leaders can set. As a leader, I think I have the opportunity to set the culture, which is a coaching culture. How do you lead with a coaching mindset? All our lives, we have been told how to do things. All our lives, our organizations have employed us to get results done, get things done. And in that process of executing fast, we have this whole habit of telling people what to do versus asking them questions which enable them to find the answers. The answers are within, but we just don't take that patience, and we don't have that patience there. So I think as leaders, the opportunity for us is to build that coaching mindset, lead with a coaching mindset, and change the culture. When I talk about change the culture, I was just giving this example to somebody. Coaching is like the drop of ink that falls into this bucket of clean water. You don't know where the ink drop has disappeared, but the water turns blue. And that's what coaching is. You can't find where it is. It's part of the blue bucket. You can't change it, but you've changed culture in some form or shape. And I think that's the opportunity. And that's what inspires me to be what I'm doing here.
Wow, lots of hearts going out, and I don't think anyone could have said it better. One final one for you, Akhil, which is, looking back, and, you and I actually know each other from our corporate past. If let's say you had been a coach 30 years or 25 years ago, is there one thing that you would have perhaps done differently as a leader?
I think my leadership style would have been very, very different. I think I learned it later. I think I was pretty directive, pretty focused on task versus people. I was less on the empathy side. I think that's changed for me. It's changing still. I don't think I'm on the other end of the spectrum. But if I had this skill set and if I'd known these, I would have been a very different leader in terms of how I engage with teams, people, and how I bring them to deliver their full best. I think so. Therefore, if somebody had to ask me, actually, what would be a regret for you, I would have said, I wish I was introduced to this concept 30, 40 years ago, 35 years ago, when I was just beginning my career. But anyway, in hindsight, everything is wisdom, right? So it's always good to know there is a tomorrow and you can change tomorrow rather than behind.
Absolutely. I think that's the bonus of being a coach. This is an opportunity to bring Ujjwal on the stage and, in the spot. And, soon after Akhil has shared his thoughts, Ujjwal, no pressure there, but what are you feeling, Ujjwal?
Vijay, if I can say, I'm feeling confused.
Get yourself a coach.
Okay, and would you like to know why? Because I have so far learned about executive coaching. Now today I am thinking about exquisite coaching. So executive, exquisite, all that sounds to be coming together. So I'm confused. So yeah, but ATC, C is not for confusion. C is for confluence. So
and clarity, right?
yes, absolutely.
Wonderful. So on that, folks, Ujjwal did again one of those sessions. We started off January of this year with Ujjwal's special session on executive coaching, and we called it 360 because we said we took a 360 approach to that. So Ujjwal, first question to you is, one maybe unforgettable or top lesson as an executive coach that you'd probably share generously with all the wannabe coaches that you train.
Yeah. So I think one of the lessons that I learned as a coach is getting out of your own way. So how do you stop your mental chatter while you are coaching, and also believe that client has answers? So many a times I have regretted by interrupting the client. I wish I would have just zipped my mouth for 2 more seconds. Client would have got the answers. So in the hindsight, these are the 2 things that I surely can convey.
Awesome. So one more, which is we spoke about stakeholders and all that. Amongst all the stakeholders that you deal with as an executive coach, who's the one stakeholder that you personally would befriend first, and something that would always bring a red flag to you?
Yeah, so I think there is a systemic answer to it. And we have our friend Ramesh here, who is systemic expert. So I just would, with his permission, I would answer that. So, what happens is that when you are coaching client on one-on-one, of course, we have an element of team coaching as well here, but I am just putting a spotlight on one-on-one coaching. So if you're coaching anybody from the organization, then there is a support system without which a client would not be able to succeed fully. Because as Marshall says, our environment impacts us in many ways than we can imagine. Yeah. So I would surely try to be an ally or get them to ally with this whole coaching objective are 2 people. One is the reporting manager of that client, and also their HR business partner or the HR head or LNOD head, whosoever is managing this initiative, because there is a lot of movement, internal dynamics and when the person is going through the process of change, if these 2 people are not supporting sufficiently, I have seen multiple examples where a person would go 3 steps forward and then 4 steps back. So we are talking about net zero. It may become net negative. So
that's a very hands-on and practical tip, Ujjwal. And again, I asked this to Dr. Jade, but let me ask you this quick answer. Amongst the so many niches available, why should a coach consider executive coaching? You want to take time on that? That's okay. But
oh, is it a question for me? Or
yes, that's a question for you.
Okay.
We're tapping on all your, again,
Okay.
you are one of a really successful executive coach.
Okay. In that case, would you mind repeating the question?
I said, why should somebody consider becoming an executive coach?
Oh, yeah. So first, commercial answer. Okay.
Yeah.
So the biggest buyer of coaching services globally, still bunch of corporates of various shapes and sizes. And there are a number of executives who are waiting to be coached. And also coaching is going from top echelons to senior and to middle, and now even at the bottom of the pyramid of an organizational hierarchy. So sometimes aspiring coaches call up and ask that, Ujjwal, are there more coaches than the clients? So should we really consider going for coaching, or instead end up, starting a coaching institute, because coach training institute seems to be earning more than the coaches. So shall we do that? So I give them some data points around number of organizations. They have not yet gone for coaching, and there is a huge white space available. And that's why executive coaching, and also I think even to be completely in empathy with executives across the world, the kind of world that we have created, people are getting more and more stressful by the day. Executives are given less resources and more deliverables, more and more that is coming through. So anybody whom you can, and one of the things also, I'm going with a bit of a random thought, but also one of the things that I have seen, that pause and reflect are two missing traits with many executives. Not that they don't want to, but simply don't have a time to pause and reflect. So if an executive coach is able to provide that space for 60 to 90 minutes, that might serve rest of the 22, 23 hours of their lives much better.
Thanks, Ujjwal. And I'm going to move to Milind. I mean, just again, a natural segue. Milind, again, is a very successful leader, and like Akhil, wears two hats of the leader and the coach and also the sponsor, which is why, you know, the session with Milind was actually focused on coaching in organizations, but everything was from the sponsor's perspective. It was such a, you know, I would say grounded and practical session that we all took away tips from. Milind, before I ask you your thoughts on the occasion, there's a question from Raj, which is probably your best suited to answer it. Isn't it too time-consuming to lead the coachee by asking questions rather than simply telling them politely that please do this way? Productivity may go down. That's a great question, and we want your answer.
So it's no, thank you so much. And first, thanks for inviting. And I, for a moment, forgot that I'm also expected to answer questions when I was listening to so many accomplished coaches and leaders who are taking questions today. So amazing learning so far. I think this is a conflict which, as business leaders, we go through. So short term versus long term. So clearly, while every organization speaks about shaping future organization, unfortunately, you are consistently measured only on quarterly delivery or deliverables, right? So typically, I would say if you really care for building an organization which is without you and without many around you, I would think one of your biggest responsibilities is to show that patience. So it's clearly, if long term you want to protect the long term, I think there is no alternative.
Yeah, lovely. And on that note, now that you're warmed up with that tough question, any thoughts on today's occasion, Milind, about ATC or about coaching in general?
No, so ATC, I think I would say my experience has been mesmerizing, and I genuinely feel you are doing the job of creating a lot of awakening in the community. And I've seen many people flashing their ACCs and PCC badges and certifications, but without, and some of them who work very closely. And at times there is question in my mind that do they really understand themselves, and are they ready to actually guide and help others? It seems more coming from, I have become ACC more as, I would say, one more certificate and degree, which I can flash and maybe improve my marketability or employability in the market. So my sense is the kind of job ATC is doing is creating awakening, and the kind of amazing speakers I think you have brought on board and the kind of learning which has been shared, I think is making coaching effort far more serious than it being, it's sounding general in people's mind or generic in people's mind. Because I've seen many people not willing to go for coaching because they felt that coaching is required only if you are not doing well, right? So I think that big shift you have been able to create in the minds of people, absolutely mesmerizing. And second, your ability to sustain this and make, it's like Tom Cruise movies, every installment becomes better. And that's the sense I have got so far from all the comments I have heard. So absolutely amazing.
Oh, wow. I used to be a Tom Cruise fan many decades ago. But thank you, Milind. Thank you so much. And I think, you said you forgot that you had to answer questions. This is the reason why we put people like you in a spot, because you can just give answers like that, which are also honest and, humbling, grounded answers. So one question to you, right, as a sponsor, and that's the addition that we you came in for. Again, like we asked Ujjwal, very, very practical answer. What would delight you, or what would bring, a smile to your face through a coaching engagement, right? As a sponsor, what do you want to see?
No, so I would, very honestly, I think I would want to track the person I have coached for a longer period of time. So while the formal engagement may come to an end with 6 sessions, 7 sessions, or 8 sessions, I think 2 to 3 years from the period post your coaching, if you hear comments about the person and comments which are very different from what you heard 3 years back, I would feel that you have absolutely created deep impact in the life of the person who you coached, right? So transient and temporary impact doesn't matter, because organization will look forward to whether the performance has improved or 360-degree feedback has improved. But I still feel it is managed or superficial. A real change will happen if somebody imbibes what you have learned over a period of long term. At least 3 years is what I would look forward to. And thankfully, I've been tracking people as part of the journey. Whosoever I have interacted with, I've been tracking people. And even if 5%, 10% people, you see some sort of positive progression, you feel very, very delighted and happy.
Thanks, Milind. And again, absolutely practical, wise answer. So coaches and others, please note. It's my pleasure to finally move, last but not the least, to Ramesh, somebody who, embodies, he said humbled, he himself embodies that. And, thank you, Ramesh, for, being patient till the end and, completely engaged. But as we say, we save the best for last. There's already a question. And I know while you came in for the edition seeking and finding a coach, and some of those answers were that those discussions still sort of ring a bell in my mind, because they were just so hands-on and practical that comes with experience. But there is a question from me too that I'm going to ask you. How do we define and maintain confidentiality in executive coaching? And this is perfect for you because you, like some of the other guests here today, are a very seasoned executive coach.
So I'll actually start with the definition of confidentiality. So to me, confidentiality is what is discussed in a client conversation, and that's confidentiality. And two ways to sort of make sure that is maintained. One is as a practice, and I think it's important to do this. Ujjwal talked about the stakeholders. So identifying the stakeholders who need to understand what coaching means. I think that's the first part of it. Really understanding who they are and actually getting them together and explaining to them what that process will really look like and what confidentiality means. That is first part of it. So really doing a pitch around confidentiality, pitch around what coaching is, making sure people understand. The second part of it is to really get them to understand this. I actually get them to sign a confidentiality agreement. So I have a template, which is a confidentiality agreement. Get the sponsor, I as a coach, and the client to sign on it. It talks about what confidentiality will mean. What are the boundaries of confidentiality? What is out of scope? Right? So at least the key stakeholders are clear on that. Having said that, you will still get asked questions on the corridors, how your client is doing, right? And that's up to you to manage.
Yeah, and I think as you grow, as you get more seasoned, you learn how to manage this. There's one more, Ramesh. In spite of orientation sessions, coaches are expecting, mentoring in a coaching session. I can see Milind nodding his head. But Ramesh, what's your answer for that? Or let's say a tip or something.
See, so let me put it this way. And this is my personal learning, okay? And a learning which came through lots of conversations that I've had trying to understand what to do in situations of this kind. Because especially in the Indian context, I think this is reality. I mean, all of us are brought up being told what to do, and most of us have forgotten or don't have the patience to try and figure things out. So it's a reality there. So 80% of your clients, you will end up with that situation. But I think it's important to remember to start where the client is. Right? And in some cases, you will need to start from where the client wants to go and then work. See, so let me put it this way. I would look at it as two parts to it, right? One is your competency as a coach, and your competency as a coach has a lot to do with what ICF defines, the 37 competency markers there. The second part of it is, how do you use those competencies in everything that you do? I mean, every conversation that you do, how do those competencies really show up? So whether it is a mentoring conversation or whether it's a coaching conversation, those competencies are not very different, right? So yes, it does happen.
Again, very, very practical wisdom. Ramesh, let's round up with, your thought for today and leave us a message, Ramesh.
Yeah, I've been, I don't know if you remember, Vijay, because after the last get together we had, right, in Chennai, I actually wrote your notes saying that we should talk about how coaches price themselves. And I think it was Ram's question, right? Commoditization.
Yeah.
Oh boy, I'm slurring now at this time of the day. Commoditization of coaching. See, it is a reality. There's no two ways about it. But I think what I really want to address or talk about here is, irrespective of what others do, I think it's important for us as coaches to understand what we bring as value. Okay. And commoditization happens only when you're not, when you don't believe in yourself. So if there is if there is a way to define for yourself what your value is and actually make sure you articulate that value, whether it's a price you want the client to pay or whether it is what you bring to the table, it is very important. Second is, I think we are in a hurry in life, right? And I don't think there's any career in this world which you can sort of jumpstart in about 3 months' time. It doesn't happen. And coaching is a career in that sense. So I think that you need to have the patience to build your credibility. And it may take any amount of time. At least in my experience, 3 to 4 years is a good timeline to look at to build that sort of career. So it is important to price yourself right. And some of the worst thing that we can do to ourselves and to the community is to downsell yourself by, if not anything, most of us have at least 20 odd years of experience of more than that, right? I mean, that itself is value. So look at it that way.
Perfect. Thank you, Ramesh. PMC, over to you.
Yeah, it's great listening to all the special guests. Thank you very much once again before I formally close the session, and thank you all again. Right now, it's a request to the participants, everyone in the call right now. Your feedback on today's ATC in a word. Menti code, Subha will put it up. 45204752, that's the Menti code. Please access menti.com and give your reaction or response. ATC in a word, you have 3 choices. As I requested on the chat box, please do stay back for a few more minutes. Just closing up, and we would like to talk about our gratitude to the community. How's the Menti being populated, getting populated, Vijay?
Yeah, it is. It is. You can move forward. Please.
Yeah, okay. And one more. Before we close, I seek a gift from all of you. There is a digital ATC wall we have created. And I would request you to leave your messages for us there. And the Menti code is also getting posted. The Menti code for the gift will be 6359878. Subha, could you post it, please? The second Menti code 6359878. That's for the Menti wall, ATC wall. Yeah, that's the one, 6359878. To share your experience and your wishes and your feelings about ATC. While you are doing that, considering that the time is already past the close time, I request you to stay in touch with our social media channels for update on the summary of this session and also for the videos that we have already posted. Friends, as mentioned earlier today, this has been a wrap-up session of 22 months of ATC journey. Vijay and I have been conceptualizing and presenting these sessions to you. It's been a greatly satisfying effort to have contributed to the cause of coaching in our own small way. I thank Subbu and Subha for helping us today in the back end. They've done an excellent job. I thank Rosarii Mannion and all the special guests who have contributed a lot to ATC and have spared their time to be with us today and their open-hearted appreciation for what we've done with ATC so far. And finally, my big thank you to you, the audience, without whose appreciation, engagement, and unconditional patronage, without that, ATC would not have been as successful as it has been. In your honor, I take my hats off and take a bow. Thank you and goodbye.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. We are around for a couple of minutes if you want to just hang out and chat. Special thanks to, the amazing special guests who've come back. My only, disappointment is we couldn't get more questions from you, but, as we said earlier, we'll find another way.